Some things start small, but small things can turn into something big. For instance, a little snow, a piece of snow can turn into a big avalanche. You agree? And this is a dance avalanche. He's a businessman, DJ producer, smart, 5 times the best DJ of the world. Nobody else did that. 15 times in the top 3 of the world. Nobody did that. And if Armada asked me to interview this very interesting, nice person, what could I say? I said yes. Because you, Robin, ask different questions. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask different questions. But now, first of all, I want to have a big hand, a warm applause for Armin van Buuren. Hey. Hi. Hi, Armin.
Dankjewel, man.
Armin, we go way back long.
We go
Shall
back.
we sit?
Yes.
I remember you as a small, shy guy working in a record shop.
Yeah.
A small piece of avalanche then. How did music came into your life and when?
Music came into my life, to put a long story short, via the radio. Via your radio show, for those who like the groove, who I still listen to this day. And in Holland, we were very upfront. We were one of the very first to embrace dance music, and you were one of the very first pioneers. That's why I think it's a big honor. I think this guy deserves a big round of applause right here, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Because in those days, dance music wasn't what it is now. We didn't have beautiful conventions like the Dancefair. We didn't have State of Trance events, 32,000 tickets. It was small, it was intimate, and there were some people who had the guts to put it on Dutch radio. Yourself included, Ben Liebrand, Luc Jansen,
Yeah.
VPRO Radio, Adam Curry, Ronald Molendijk, Michel de Heij, Marcelo, Carl Cox, John Dickweed, Sasha. Those guys were all my heroes. And at that point, I was not old enough to go to clubs myself. I tried to. I was refused entrance into the Roxy quite a few times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was dreaming of this. It was this other world. My parents hated it, so it was a good argument for me to get into it.
So they refused you at the door at the Roxy?
I was refused at the door.
And you're not
at the
even
Roxy.
black?
No, exactly. I just wasn't allowed to come in. I was not old enough. I was 16, and I was dreaming of this dance music world. And I listened to these tapes, and I think my education was taping all the radio shows, listening to the music, analyzing, and slowly I started to produce.
At the day, were you playing an instrument?
I had piano lessons, and the biggest mistake in my life was that I quit my piano lessons when I was 13 years old.
So can you give a good, how do you say that? Something to the guys who... My daughter was learning piano, she stopped also.
Yeah.
What could you say to the guys here are learning piano and they stop? What could you tell them? Please
well,
go on.
I cannot tell for the people in this room what they have to do. There's no golden way of working. But I want to tell you something that after 20 years of being a producer and in the dance music industry, I know so little. There's so much to learn about production, for example, I use Logic Pro, I'm a Logic guy, but that doesn't mean other DAWs are not good. But to this day, every day, I learn a little trick about Logic. That's how big the program is. Yeah. There is so much to learn, so never think you're done learning. And that's why my new single is very different again, because I want to develop myself. And the only way to develop yourself is if you keep learning. So you have to stay interested in what you... That's why I think it's so great you guys are all here, enjoying the Dancefair. This is a great start to get knowledge. But now with internet, I mean, in the days when we started producing, we didn't have YouTube. We had no tutorials online. Right now, there's thousands of tutorials for free on YouTube. You can buy courses.
Do you mean it's much more easier than nowadays?
I don't say it's easier because, you know your colleagues are also doing it. But a specific sound, a sound that can make your next world hit, can be found using tutorials. I mean, there's tons and tons of really funny, but also really serious tutorials about how they create an EDM track or a techno track. And I strongly recommend everybody that, instead of watching a movie, go online and educate yourself. And the best thing I've done, actually, I started having piano lessons again 3 years ago with my with my Bulgarian teacher, and he comes tonight as well. He's a big fan of trance music. So I actually started to take piano lessons again 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, you were a little bit sick. You were in 1 week in 3 continents. I think you were in South Africa, you were in South America, and then you flew back to Europe.
Yeah.
How many days?
5 days, 6 days. Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
It's tough. I'm taking a huge toll on my body, and I know.
Is it not important to listen to your body instead of gaining success and doing the things you are obliged to?
It was not so much about gaining success or about money. That's the last thing on my mind. No, the thing that's on my mind is the fans in South Africa.
That's it.
Yeah, the fans in South Africa I wanted to please, and they were very important to me. And I knew I had no more fever, so I got on the plane against the doctor's advice. But I was lucky because I arrived in Cape Town. I had a really good hotel. I slept the whole day, and I felt energized again for my performance. But it's also the price you pay if you're on this level. Then sometimes it means you have to ask a little bit more of yourself, and I don't want to complain about it. I mean, I'm never sick, but I was last week. But I'm okay now.
that makes you a big person, a strong person.
I don't know. I just feel.
It takes care about your fans.
Yeah, my fans are everything.
I would stay at home.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but my fans are. Maybe I use this one.
Yeah, maybe.
Hello. Yeah, my fans are everything to me. So, you can make the best music in the world, but if you have no fans, there's everybody in this room probably makes music, and you guys want to have your music to be heard. And the only people that can dance to the music is the fans. So your fans are everything. They're the beginning and the end of Armin van Buuren. If Armin van Buuren wouldn't have no fans, there would be no. I mean, I would just be a person. And now, I can do this and I can shine thanks to these people.
Yeah. Talking about your fans, we did something on the internet. I had an idea to let people ask questions from the internet because then you can a little bit see what kind of questions you get. Not stupid questions, but I think there's good questions. I took the 5 of about 1,000 questions, and I hope you can answer these fans who want to ask you, but they don't have the opportunity. And now they have the opportunity through me that I ask you. The first one is Rick Dino. Rick Dino, is he here? Yeah. Okay. Which of your productions are you most proud of? Which of your production are you most proud of?
Well, all my tracks are my babies, and some tracks I worked on for a year, literally. For example, the track Intense with Miri Ben Ari or Embrace is a project that is so big. And some tracks I did in a day, like Ping Pong was a silly track. That was also a really big success. I think
Tell me something about the track you worked 1 year. Did you alone 1 year, or did you several people work?
Several people, like the track Heading Up High with Kensington was to find a hybrid between the dance music sound and the rock sound of Kensington was a super, super interesting track. But from the starting of the writing of the song till the actual finished master, with all the lawyers and all the band members that have to be included, it was I think, in the end, I'm more proud of a track like Heading Up High because we put so much work into every detail of the song. And the most difficult thing was, but it's also a very good learning experience, how Kensington thinks about their band sound and how I think about my dance music sound. And to find a hybrid between the two, that was the challenge. So I guess that's one of the tracks I'm most proud of.
Okay, next one. Robert van der Swet. Last year in the arena, we were talking about Kensington. Last year in the arena, a lot of vocals were out of tune because I was there. I'm a pianist with the music. Do you agree with that? And how do you respond on these things?
I disagree. I think some people, some things are always out of tune. The I Need You guy didn't tour with us, But one of the things I learned from the Armin Only show and touring is that a lot of singers have to get used to it. It doesn't work if you just push a vocalist on stage, you plug a microphone in a mixer, and there you go. So what we have this very complicated system with timecode and click tracks and in-ears. And you saw during the tour that the singers got better. Trevor Guthrie, the first time he performed This Is What It Feels Like, was not so good. But during the tour, after the show number 20, he got better and more confident and more confident. And that was also a great learning experience. I mean, yes, we are doing a live show. Yes, we're doing it in front of a big audience in the arena. You know that some vocalists are going to be off, especially the Olaf Blackwood performance was not so good. And that is because he was the only guy that didn't tour with us for 30 shows. All the other singers, including, for example, Bully Songs and Fiora, they did an amazing performance. And that's because they grow. So it's also, if you want to invest in a show like that and work with live artists, the key is, which I found out now, is rehearse, and do it. Do it a lot of times. So the show that we did in the arena didn't fall from the sky. It was a collection of 5 tours that we did around the world for 10 years with all the singers. And then we rehearsed again in the Brabanthalle. And we did the entire show in front of a smaller crowd. So yeah, but you know, working with live artists, there's always going to be something off. But you try to perfect it, of course.
Yeah. Next question from Bas van Weert. Is Bas van Weert here somewhere? Yes. Consider you yourself as an artist, DJ, or producer? Or is it maybe a mix from all 3 kinds?
I don't think I can live without either, you know. I can produce as many tracks as I want, but if I don't see the crowd response in front of me, I mean, there's a lot of tracks, including tonight, when I play a State of Trance here, that I will play brand new music. And I'm always scared when I drop a new track, because in your studio it sounds amazing, and then you play it in front of a big crowd, and oops, nothing happens. That happens to me more than the other way around, that, you know, the party's going all crazy. It happens to me more that a track fails. But I have the luxury of being able to road test. I was in Brazil last week, and I know my show wasn't being broadcasted. So there was 5,000 people there, and secretly I tested 3 tracks that I want to premiere tonight in my set. So it gives me the opportunity. So I think the DJ can't live without the producer, and the producer can't live without the DJ, because you learn from playing your own music in front of a crowd. You know, sometimes you think your track is brilliant and oh, it's a beautiful breakdown, and then I play it, and then nothing happens.
How did they respond in Brazil? Was it a good reaction?
Yeah, it was good. I was not so pleased with the kick, so with one of the tracks, so I went back into the studio with the other guy I produced it with, and we put more 40 hertz oomph in.
Do you play them tonight?
If I have the guts, yeah. It drives my tour manager nuts, because a lot of people think that my shows are always pre-programmed.
Yep.
And they're not.
A lot of people think.
No, it's not.
Tell me how you do your show then.
Well, for example, for tonight in the Jaarbeurs, I do a 2-hour set. And the 2-hour set means you can play between 30 and 37 tracks, in my case. And some tracks you don't want to edit because they have a beautiful breakdown, and I think the producer should speak for itself, or I really want the track to breathe. But in my folder that I have ready for that night, I always have 60 to 70 tracks, which drives my crew nuts, because I might decide to change my opening track last minute.
That's good.
And I think that that's the art of I guess I'm a little old school like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with pre-programming your set, but for me, DJing is looking at the people in front of me, not looking at the people listening online, but I look at you guys. I look, and I also investigate not only the people that are dancing here, because these people are okay. They want to dance anyway. But it's very important to develop an antenna for the people on the sides and the back of the room. They should also be having a good time.
Moving a little bit?
Moving a little bit, or, if they have to shout in the ears of the waitress, then you're playing too hard, because, they can't order drinks, or, the atmosphere should be good in the whole room, not only. And that's what you learn when I'm sure that you've had the same experience. If you play in smaller clubs when it's not so full, and that's why it's important for yourself to keep playing the small gigs as well, because then you have a closer, intimate connection with the crowd, and you can see if a track is working or not. Because a 200 people crowd is very honest. Trust me.
How do you do that, Armin? How do a lot of people, young guys, elder guys, they see you as a role model. You're an example for them. Is it a difficult, hard job for you then to be in this world?
Well, I want to say I'm not perfect. I'm like everybody in this world. I have
You
my
look
own.
perfect.
I have my insecurities.
Yeah.
I have my insecurities, and every track I do, I see as a new exam. You know, every track I release, I mean, I know that a lot of my tracks have done well, but there's also some tracks that have failed horribly. So every track I release is another exam, and I'm just as nervous. I mean, I think that it would be the same feeling of maybe, you know, I guess if Steven Spielberg releases a new movie, he's just as nervous about his last movie as his first, I think, or, you know.
Like, can you believe that people here in this room and all people in the world think that you're so sure you're a big star, you have a lot of people around you that know what they're doing? And so you have the same feeling that producers here in this room have, that you're sometimes unsure about a track you're producing in the studio?
Well, you guys don't see what's going on in the studio and the fights that we have in the office. I mean, Armada looks as a strong company and as a big company, but it is also, I think, the power of Armada and the power of my management is that I've surrounded myself with people who are not only nice people, but are also honest people. So if I play a shit set, I expect my crew to tell me, I liked your set yesterday, it was better. So your set today was not so good. And I want people to be honest, and you need people to be honest around you. Because if you have people around you that are only saying, oh, you're Armin van Buuren and everything you do is so great, it's not going to help you. And what you guys don't see, I have a vlog now every week. I don't know if you guys are watching it, but I try to open up myself a little bit about my own insecurities, that I'm sick too, you know, sometimes. And sometimes I'm not in the mood for a gig, or sometimes I'm insecure about playing a new trance track on my radio show. Because in all honesty, when I drive to the radio studio in Amsterdam to do a new State of Trance episode, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I just I flick through the tracks. I quickly say, okay, this track. And I know that there's a lot of young producers who are hoping for me to play their track. But I can only play 30 tracks in a 2-hour radio show. So it's a very careful, delicate balance. So you always have to... But hand on my heart, I always select my own tracks for my radio show, for my sets. I mean, that's what my last responsibility is, isn't it? So... And the same thing goes in the office, you know. There's a lot of fights in the Armada office with me about, for example, the last video that I released for Sex, Love and Water. There was a big argument in the office.
But you're the boss.
Huh?
You're the boss. When you say, I do it like this.
No, I don't work that way.
No?
I don't know. I strongly believe in constructive criticism. And that's also why what I expect from the A&R managers at Armada is if you don't like something, you have to be able to tell why you don't like it. Is the kick not good? Is the melody too long? Does it sound, you know, give people an argument so they can work on it and try to make it better. So,
and if they have good arguments for you, you go with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every track I do is like a new exam, isn't it?
Okay. I have 2 more questions from the internet. Dennis van Hoek. This is a difficult one. What is your most beloved trance track ever? It doesn't have to be your own track. It could be also a track from another artist.
Well, the track that has meant most for my career was Blue Fear, obviously, because that started everything. And
that started everything?
Started for me, yeah.
That means the twisting point, the turnover.
Yeah.
That was
when
turnover.
Sasha and Dickweed started playing that track and put it on the Northern Exposure compilation, I didn't know what happened. I mean, in those days, they sold 500,000 copies of the compilation. You don't do it anymore.
No.
But that basically opened all the doors for me, mostly financially, because then I was able to go to the store and buy all the equipment that I've been dreaming of for 5 years, you know.
Armin, that's very important, this turning point. Let's talk a little bit about the turning point, because there are a lot of DJ producers here. Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, but they're all waiting for the turning point. Does it mean because John Digweed and Renaissance, they helped you by doing this compilation? Do you need people to make the people himself bigger?
I think you need a little bit of luck. It's a combination of everything, you know. I think I produced more bad tracks than good tracks. I produced a lot of shit music, and I know, and I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, me too.
But it is through the shit tracks that you get to the... Sometimes you hear people say, oh, I made this track in 2 hours. Well, you didn't, because you had to produce all these shit tracks to get to that one good track. You know what I mean? So, and that's the God-honest truth. The God-honest truth is that every track you learn more, and every track you make, and it's a long process. I mean, I've been making records since 1991, and my first real success was Blue Fear in 1997. So for 6 years, I've been struggling, and my demos got refused, and at that point, Blue Fear wasn't even a big success. It was a modest success. It was picked up by an English label. And my big success came in 2000 with a track called Communication. But at that point, I've been producing for 9 years already. And I redid Communication 3 times because I thought the first one wasn't good enough. And now I listened to the third attempt, I was like, nah, I would do it completely different. So every track I make, you learn something more, and you go better, and you go better. But it's never done. You know, if I listen to my Intense album now, my most successful album to date, I would change a lot of stuff. I would do a lot of stuff different now, listening back. I was like, I did it that way, you know. I should have done it this way. So by learning the new techniques, you move forward, and I think it's always very good to be critical about your own tracks. And of course, if a track is successful and it does well, you can pat yourself on the back a little bit. You don't have to be extremely harsh on yourself, but a track is never perfect, you know. I'm never done. I mean, when I release a track, the next day I think, oh, I should have edited that out, or I should have had the break should have been longer or shorter, or the snare feels not good, or it sounds dated, or it's almost like a painful process, you know. Every time I hear a track of mine on the radio, sometimes I think, oh, I should have not done that.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you believe that? Because I'm thinking if Armin releases a track, then from the first second until 3 minute 10, everything is analyzed and everything should be on place. Every sound should be perfect. So how can it be, Armin, how can it really be that you're in a car and you think, okay, I should put it somewhere else, or I should put that louder? Because then the moment before releasing the track, maybe you weren't sleeping or somebody else was sleeping. Tell me.
Yeah, that's very true. And I cannot lie, this is the way it goes. It's an ongoing process. Fortunately, I work with a lot of really good, talented people around me who can point me to certain things, but you don't want to know about the hours and days of discussions I had about the volume of a hi-hat or the volumes of backing vocals. The most famous story is Mr. Props coming to my house on Christmas Eve about Another You. We just finished Another You, and he wanted one of the backing vocals. You guys don't even hear it. I don't even hear it. But he came to my house all the way from Tilburg, where he lives. Yeah. He parked his car, and my wife was crazy. Like, what are you doing? It's Christmas Eve. But it was bugging him so much that I had to put one of his backing vocals 1.5 dB louder.
Yeah.
And I was like, seriously, dude? And then 2 months later, I heard it on the radio, and I was like, you know what? Motherfucker was right.
Wow.
He was right.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. It's the pain, but it's also the beauty of creating art, you know. One of my favorite quotes is, "Wir haben die Kunst, damit wir nicht an die Wahrheit zugrunde gehen." I don't like German, but I like that quote. Because it's making art, making music is a painful process. But when you see a crowd going crazy to your track, then that is your reward. And take it in, you know. I mean, I was probably the most... I literally hit my face under a pillow when I released This Is What It Feels Like. I remember the day that Pete Tong premiered it on Radio 1. I was in Bulgaria for an ASOT show, and I hit my head under a pillow, and I was looking at TweetDeck. I don't know if anybody uses that still, and I saw the haters coming on, you know. Oh, what's this? This is shit, the pop track,
really?
blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, what's going on? See, I knew it. So I called my manager, I said, I knew it. This is what it feels like. See, people think I sold out, I'm a shit DJ, I can back up, and you know, it's all done, and forget DJ Mac, I'm over. That's what I absolutely, hand on my heart, thought when I released This Is What It Feels Like. And now 5 years later, Grammy nomination, gold record in God knows how many countries. But when I first played the track on the radio, I was the most insecure guy ever. And I was in my room calling my wife. I said, okay, this is the last ASOT event I'm ever doing. I'm going to quit because And that's because, you know, it's a painful process sometimes. But I trusted on myself because I knew that when I was releasing This Is What It Feels Like, it was going to generate a lot of negativity. But I was so proud of the song. I was so happy with the song, and I wanted to release it because it is who I am. And sometimes it means that you're going against the grain, and you're going against what people expect from you. And that is also part of, I think, the process of being an artist.
Wow. I love this guy, but I love him even more now with this. Armin.
Yo.
Yeah, you can, yeah, it's really true. I was on a mountain somewhere and I found a little piece of stone, and it was standing on the 10 commandments of the DJ. The 10 commandments of the DJ. I give you a few words and maybe you can react on this. It was written down, 10 commandments of a DJ. The 10th one was the looks. I was thinking, the looks? Does a DJ need to have the looks to become very successful?
No. People want to see a character. I think it doesn't matter what you look like as long as you are you. And my mother always taught me that the most beautiful thing you can become in life is yourself. And that's a journey that lasts your lifetime. Of course, if you have good looks, it helps. Let's not lie about that. But, you know, I've seen some DJs that are not extremely good looking and they go really well.
Ugly.
But because?
Ugly.
Sorry? Ugly, yeah, maybe ugly.
Yeah.
But I think what people come and see is they're not coming to look at a beautiful person. They come and hear great music, right? So it's about you and your character and how well you present your music to the people. Because you know what, end of the day, that's what people want to see. They want to see a DJ who is himself, who's confident, and who rocks the shit out of a party. And that's what it's about. So looks, no.
Who of the DJs, between question, who of the big DJs in the top 10 is really a good friend of you?
I'm close with Robert Hardwell. We did the back-to-back set last year. Actually, I have no beef with anybody. No, they're all...
But you don't play tennis with Robert?
I don't think we're both particularly good at tennis. Dimitri Vegas like Mike, Guetta, sometimes we call each other, send each other texts.
But you're not going on holiday with them?
If we would have time, yes, why not? You know, it's always a pleasure to see, especially the Dutch DJs amongst each other. Yeah. And that's something I really want to applaud in general to my colleagues. I think there's no beef at all. I know there's this story about me and Chesto. It's bullshit because, we have the utmost respect for each other. And, the same thing goes with Hardwell and Afrojack or whoever, when I see them shine on the stage, it makes me proud as a Dutchman, to see them rock the crowd. Is
it something typical Dutch? Because I agree with this, because if we met each other on Dutch festivals, all the DJs is like one big family. Yeah. Everybody's jumping on the back. And what is this? Is this typically Dutch or?
I think it's typically Dutch, yeah. I mean, especially if Dutch people meet in another country, they're like, "Hey man, how are you? You're from Holland. Alles goed? Ja, lekker jong." Yeah. And if we see each other on the road here, and you forget to put your light, and when you switch lanes, then the Dutch people start to hit each other in the head. I don't know why that is. Yeah. If Dutch people in Holland, they always fight, but as soon as they go over the border, they're the biggest friends. Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Okay, the next thing on the big 10 Commandments shield was the skills. Does a DJ need the skills?
Respect the skills, eh? No, I think, yes. I think in the end of the day, I'm referring to DJ Jean, but a lot of respect for DJ Jean.
Yes.
He is an amazing DJ. I think if you have some skills, it makes a difference. Absolutely. I mean, I guess you're coming to the Dancefair to find out some general knowledge about making dance music, being a DJ. But you know what? At the end of the day, it is about you. It's not about me. It is about you guys out there. You have to develop your own character, develop your own sound, something that you believe in. Because if you play what JD plays, or if you play what Armin van Buuren plays, you're just a copy of us. And that's not the case. What you have to do is find the guts to find your own sound. And that's probably the best way to say it.
Create your own identity.
Yeah, so some people ask me, do I need to be a producer if I want to be a DJ? No, there's no written rule that you have to be a producer. Yes, your way to the top is probably more quick if you produce a great track that all the other DJs start playing, because nowadays that's how you become famous. But it's not a written rule that you have to have a dance music hit in order to be a successful DJ. I mean, Eddie Halliwell, for example, I don't think he released that many tracks, but he was an amazingly skilled DJ. So, and I'm waiting for the next #1 DJ to be an actual, mixing, scratching DJ. That's going to happen, I'm sure. And that's not a DJ that's producing himself. So ask yourself, why do you want to be a producer and a DJ? Maybe you just should be a producer that does 5 gigs a year. And maybe that's your path. The only thing I know for sure is that your path will be different than his and mine. And you only need to find it.
Armin, could you describe yourself? We have a DJ, old school DJ. I'm an old school DJ, mixing, blah, 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 doing nothing. Mixing with loops, mixing with samples. How do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself as a DJ artist or a DJ producer who's actually producing on the spot, like a lot doing now these days? Pioneer just brought out a new one. I saw the demonstration from TFX, from René. Beautiful.
Yeah, amazing.
Amazing. Does that mean that the old school DJs doesn't have any how do you say it? Love to look at because it's boring? If I play, I think I'm boring behind the desk. I play my music from the one to the other. But the DJs are so busy, hot knobs, everything, putting a blah, 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 blah. And should the DJ from nowadays be a DJ performer, or is an old school DJ still accepted?
I'm not the one to tell. The crowd is the one that has to answer that question. It's not up to me. I think if you rock a crowd, you rock a crowd. If you throw cakes at people and people like it, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge? I'm not meaning that in a disrespectful way. End of the day, what we're doing is we're entertaining people. We're trying to give people a great time. People that paid a ticket to come and see a show. And if it means that you stand with one hand on your turntable, if you go to do a back-to-back with 8 people, if you play a completely pre-mixed set from Ableton on your laptop, who cares? End of the day, if you are rocking a crowd, then you are the king. So, and I've tried a lot of technical things in my shows. Maybe you've seen the bracelets, the Mayo bracelets that I've used. I've used samplers, played with DVD players. Now we have the timecode system. I found out that my crowd, the crowd that comes to an Armin van Buuren show, is not so much interested in, for example, me putting an a cappella live on top of another track. That is something I've tried a lot around 2004, 2005. I had a big bunch of a cappellas and I was mixing and the crowd wasn't even noticing. So I started to put that a cappella on top of the tune, pre-mixed, and the crowd response was the same. So, but it is good to keep developing your own skills behind the deck. So whether that's scratching or using a sampler or using effects on stage, you see more and more DJs DJing with Ableton now or with Tractor. That's great.
Actually, it's all about the music.
It's all about the music. If the crowd is having a good time, and if you think you're boring, but the crowd is having an amazing time to your set, then who am I to judge you to say like, oh, you're playing a shit set?
Yeah.
Because it's about the crowd. It's about the people.
The knowledge. Do you need knowledge from music from the 70s, 60s, 80s, 90s?
Sometimes knowledge can be bothering you. I find everything that I know now sometimes is limiting my creative views on something. In the end of the day, it's you, your DAW, and the sound you want to make. You don't have to know the whole history of house music. I mean, it's fun to know. I mean, there's a lot of things to know, but I think your quickest way to the top is to throw away all the bullshit and come to the point.
Start from scratch.
Yeah, start from scratch, and there's tons of stories of upcoming DJs, and their first track was a #1 hit in the UK. So who am I to say that you have to have a lot of knowledge about the disco era and the house music era? If a track sounds good, it is good.
Success.
Success is important because it is an acknowledgement for yourself. It is removing a little bit from the pain I was talking about. But success is also an empty box, in a way. I love the story about Nick Mason, the drummer from Pink Floyd, who I think Pink Floyd just received an award for 12 times platinum for Dark Side of the Moon. And so they celebrated big with the band, they got drunk, and it was great. And the next morning he woke up and he opened his curtains and he looked outside and he saw the milkman going to the next house, and he saw the bakery going open, and somebody was sweeping the floor. So, you know, success is great and it's fun, and especially if you have success with a big team, but it's not holy, you know, because the next day you wake up and you just have to go
To the toilet.
and you have to put out the trash. And I think success is not the main drive for me anymore. Yes, of course, I'm happy if I get an award, or if I know that you know, you get a platinum record. It's still an amazing thing. But for me now, the journey is more important than the destination. I described you the track with Kensington earlier, or recently some of the tracks I've done with Conrad Sewell or with Josh Cumby. And I learned so much from being in studio sessions in LA and in, you know, Nashville and in New York, writing with the most talented writers, because that's one of the greatest things about success. It opens a lot of doors for me. So I got to work with Scott Storch, one of the most inspirational producers, one of the biggest guys in LA, and he wanted to work with me. So being in a studio with that guy for me was like an award. That was success to me, because I learned so much from this guy. And I think the best way, this is probably the biggest tip, if you can work with any famous producer or somebody who's had success, I've always learned the most in my career sitting next to another producer. Because you learn so much about the tricks from other DJs. You know, if you sit next to him, I think we were in the studio once. I've seen you work in a complete... You told me where the sound comes from Plastic Dreams. And it was just, what was it, the JX8P from Roland?
From Yamaha.
The music box.
The TX81 set. Yeah.
And I played the lowest note, and I was like, no way.
Yeah.
And I learned that from you. So, you know, the most important thing is keep your eyes and ears open and try to collaborate with as many people as you can, because that's the quickest way.
Okay, the last one, future. Armin van Buuren, the future.
The future.
What are you going to do?
I'm right now working on the new Gaia album, a side project that I really want to do. No collaborations, no vocal performances, just purely the beats and the melodies. And I have a lot of singles lined up. I have no plans right now for a new Armin Only tour. I really want to focus on being in the studio right now. State of Trance 1000 is coming up, so that's the big new dot on the horizon. Masterclass is coming out end of February. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah,
put a lot of time in that. That was a big honor to do, but a lot of work. Really, really cool. And keep on building and helping new talent. And most of all, I think, and that's the key element of everything, is I want to have fun. Because I think for a moment, 2002, 2003, I had success with one track. And that success became a burden, because everybody was asking me, can you make a follow-up to Communication? Can you make a follow-up to Communication? And the same thing happened after This Is What It Feels Like. So what's going to be the follow-up for This Is What It Feels Like? And I've learned now that the way it works for me is not to try to recreate that success. Because you know what you're going to do? You're going to go into the studio with the same writer and the same singer. You're going to use the same kick drum. You're going to use... I'm done with that. What I want to do in the studio is I want to have fun. And it sounds really stupid, right? But I'm in the studio, and if I'm not having a good time, I'm going to play PlayStation anymore. I'm not going to even bother myself. But you know that horrible feeling on Monday morning, 10 o'clock, when it's rainy outside, especially if you live in Holland, you know what I'm talking about? And you just come off a rush of an extremely great gig for 900 people on a Saturday night, and there you go. So your A&R manager of your label called and said, we need a follow-up for this and this track. Okay. So it's Monday morning, 10 o'clock, you sit behind your DAW and you go, okay, kick drum, vengeance, 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 kick 1, 2, kick 3, kick 4, kick 5, kick 6, hi-hat 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I've got a groove. Great, we're getting going now. Let me put in a bass line. Internet. Oh, Ableton's got a new plugin. Let's buy it. Buy. Don't do that, man. Start to create a melody that gives you goosebumps, that makes you stand up in your chair like, yeah, you know. I had this day, this Monday morning, 10, I had it for a million times. When I was just scrolling through all my Ableton loops and all my Vengeance and everything, and I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling the melody, I wasn't feeling inspired, and I felt the most horrible. And I found my way out of that. First of all, buy a PlayStation. Second of all, go collaborate with other people. Because other people always have interesting ideas. And try to get out of that comfort zone. You know, Vengeance loops are great, but they're overused. So try to use different sample packs. Or maybe throw all your Vengeance loops through the distressor or through a fab filter. Or, you know what? For this day, I'm not even going to sit behind my DAW. I'm going to go buy a guitar. I can't even play guitar. Honestly, I cannot play guitar. But I bought a guitar the other day. You know why? Because I found 2 notes, and I don't even know if I held the guitar in the correct way. Maybe you're supposed to hold it like this, like that. I don't care. And I had 2 of these great sounds that I put through a pedal and through a synthesizer, and it sounded horrible, but I loved it. Yeah. So I was just geeking around, and never lose that geek inside of you. You know, geek around with your plugins, geek around with all those amazing new plugins that Ableton 10 has or Logic Pro has. Start to find interesting sounds that you love, because there's nobody there in the room. So if it comes from your heart, and if you feel inspired, then that's when you're on your way. If you don't feel the need to go to your PlayStation, then you probably are doing something right. And then your Monday starts to feel like a Friday.
Wow. This is the man behind Armin. One question, Armin, is there a festival? There are a lot of good festivals all over the world. You travel all over the world. Is there a festival where you did not play yet, but you love to play there once?
Coachella? Well, I actually played Coachella, but...
No, a festival you didn't play.
I don't know, I think maybe Roskilde or...
Burning Man?
Burning Man, I played Burning Man.
You played
Burning Man was amazing.
Yeah?
Yeah, Burning Man is amazing.
Why?
It's the free spirit. Let's put it that way. I mean, if you heard stories about Burning Man, then they're all true, and it's a different world. It's like Mad Max 2.0. It's amazing.
Would you tell something, a little goodbye for these free spirits here in this room?
Sorry?
A little message for the free spirits here in this room?
For the free spirit. Well, I always say that the most important rule in music is that there are no rules. And rule number 2 is see rule 1. And I know that may set you off a little bit, because you're like, what are you talking about? I mean, my track has to be 128 BPM because, you know, I want my track to be mixed in with another track that's 128 BPM. Okay, but then you have to understand that you're putting yourself in rules. What we're constantly doing, what we're not aware of, is that we're putting rules on top of ourselves, which is probably good because there's an endless amount of possibilities out there. But it's really good to ask yourself, what do I really want to achieve? What would be success for me? Define success for yourself. Is it a Grammy nomination? Is it the best DJ in the world? Is it selling 100,000 records? And it's important because if you don't set that mark for yourself, where do I want to go with my music and where do I want to be, then you're going to end up feeling miserable, because then there's always a next success that you cannot have. My big success was, and I still think this is probably just as much success as the Grammy nomination I received. When Blue Fear was played by Sasha and Digweed and put on that compilation, for me that was bigger than later on the Grammy nomination. Why? Because I felt like I was a nobody, and all of a sudden Sasha and Digweed were playing my track. Yeah. And that opened the door for me, and it gave me confidence. So it's important. Ask yourself, where do I want to go as an artist? Where do I want to be? What is my dot on the horizon? And write it down for yourself so you can hold yourself to it in 2-3 years from now, saying, okay, did I do everything in my power to achieve that one point? And it doesn't have to be DJ Mag #1. It doesn't have to be something...
But you have to set a course.
But set yourself a course. So if it means you're #1 in the trance chart on Beatport, then that's a really, really good thing. Even though some people tell you, yeah, but you're only selling 20 units if you're on #1. Fuck that.
Yeah.
If that's your goal, then go for it and keep believing in your own dreams, because that is the only thing that will get you there.
Yeah! Give me applause. Wow. I mean.